When running made history. What if I told you that some of history's biggest turning points, they didn't happen in some fancy war room or a palace, but during a simple foot race? Well, we're about to dive into a book that makes that exact case. I mean, it's a pretty bold question, right? Can a simple foot race really change the world? Most of the time, we just think of race results as, news. It's exciting for a day, and then we forget about it. But this book, it's asking something much bigger. So a new book argues that, yeah, it absolutely can. And here's the kicker. The reason this whole argument is so convincing, the author wasn't just some historian digging through archives. He was there. He was an eyewitness to pretty much all of it. Okay, so let's get this straight because this is the key idea of the whole book. We're not just talking about running making news, like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. That was huge for sure. But this is about running making history, like being right at the heart of these massive moments that changed everything. So you got to be asking yourself, who is this guy who was seemingly everywhere all at once? Well, his name is Roger Robinson, and he's the man at the center of this incredible story. And trust me, he is a totally unique figure, not just in sports, but in literature too. Yeah, somebody actually called him the Forrest Gump of running, and honestly, it's the perfect way to describe him. He just happened to be there for so many of the sport's most important moments. His story is this amazing mix of two totally different worlds. So on one hand, you've got the scholar. We're talking a PhD from Cambridge, an English professor, an award-winning sports journalist. The guy had the brains and the skill to not just see what was happening, but to actually get the historical importance of it, and then write about it beautifully. But, and this is what makes him so special, he wasn't just some academic watching from the sidelines. No way. He was a world-class athlete himself. He competed internationally for decades, won marathons at the master's level, and he's still racing in his 80s. And oh yeah, as if that's not enough, he's married to the running icon Kathrine Switzer. The woman who smashed the gender barrier at the Boston Marathon. So he didn't just study this sport, he was living and breathing it. See? That's the magic right there. It's this 1-2 punch of being an elite runner and a brilliant observer that makes his perspective just completely unique. It's like history kept finding him time and time again. All right, so let's talk about what having a front row seat actually looks like. For Roger Robinson, we're talking about being there in person for over 7 decades of game-changing moments. Just look at this timeline. It really shows you the incredible scope of it all. It starts all the way back in 1948. He's at the London Olympics watching Emil Zatopek, this new kind of superhuman athlete, break a record. Fast forward to 1960, he's in Rome watching Abibi Bikila kick off the era of African dominance. And get this, in 1990, he wasn't just watching, he was running through the Brandenburg Gate in the Berlin Marathon right after Germany reunified. And then he was there in Boston for that incredibly emotional win by Meb Keflezighi just a year after the bombing. And it wasn't just the huge global Olympic moments either. He ran in some incredibly symbolic races, like the New York City Marathon right after 9/11. Think about the power of that. And he's also seen these masters athletes just completely rewrite the rulebook on what's possible as you get older. But this book isn't just a highlight reel of cool stories. It really digs deep and gives you some amazing insights into how the sport of running itself has grown and changed. Take the running boom, for instance. He had this totally unique viewpoint because he was living in the US in the 80s, right when it exploded. He saw with his own eyes how these little local 5Ks turned into these massive citywide events. He watched the birth of the whole industry, the race t-shirts, the timing chips, the big money sponsorships. He literally watched it all unfold. And this right here is a perfect example of why his perspective is so valuable. Since he's not from the US, he brings this global view. So on women's running, the story we all know in America is this incredible fight against the establishment, right? Think Kathrine Switzer, Bobby Gibb. But he points out that in places like the UK and New Zealand, women were already running in races with some, but a lot less pushback. It's a totally different story, and it adds this crucial context we often miss. Okay, so the history is amazing, we get that. But is the book actually any good? Is it a good read? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes, because Roger Robinson's writing is every bit as incredible as his running. Just listen to this. This has been called maybe the best description of hitting the wall ever put to paper. He writes, "It felt as if somewhere in Newton there was a dark, fetid hole. I fell straight into it. I was powerless, a tattered rag on two bent sticks." Wow, I mean, a tattered rag on two bent sticks. That's not just a runner talking, that's a literary master capturing a feeling that every endurance athlete knows deep in their bones. And he gets the soul of the sport. This quote here really nails that special camaraderie you only find in distance running. He says it's a sport of goodwill, where if someone falls, other runners pick them up. A sport where you never, ever boo anyone. I mean, that just resonates so deeply with anyone who's ever pinned on a race bib, doesn't it? So, the final verdict from the reviewers, it's pretty clear. The book is a home run. It's beautifully written, it's broken up into these easy-to-read essays, and look, for anyone who's even kind of interested in running, it's an absolute must-read. Totally worth your time and money. You know, all of this really makes you think. Roger Robinson got to see these huge world-changing moments in running history, but the truth is, running creates these incredibly powerful moments all the time, right? At every level, from the Olympic Games all the way down to your local park run. So I guess it leaves us with one last question to chew on. What's the most powerful running moment that you've ever witnessed?